Hey guys, welcome back to Outlaw Worldwide. I got Dr. Welds here with me, Austin, Jason Becker, Arc Junkies podcast. I guess today we're going to talk about some of the tools you need when you're getting out on the job site, when you're breaking out on your own, whether you're coming out of school, getting on your first job site. What are some of the tools you need to have in that gang box or toolbox you bring to the job site? So I guess if you want to kick it off, we can start with, you're pretty big into pipe and everything like that. What are some of the tools you would need for pipe fitting and pipe welding out in the field?
So as far as it goes, most of the time, you'll have fitters and you'll have welders, right? They typically have their own set of tools and you have your own gang boxes. What I've seen is most of the welders have a smaller gang box because they don't use just the lead. They need a little bit of a TIG torch and stick stinger and a couple of hand tools and things like that. But those fitters, they've got big gang boxes, right? They're full of all these big levels, big squares, plumb bobs, laser levels, big levels. There's so many different tools, pipe clamps. So typically what I see most of the time is a fitter having a lot more tools than say a welder. Now, what makes a good hand is being able to do both, right? So you're gonna wanna at least have some minimum tools to be able to do the bare minimum as far as fitting. And if you more towards the welding side, have some more welding equipment. But I do believe you do need some squares, you need some bullet levels, you need some wraparounds. So you can also lay out and fabricate yourself if you need be.
Yeah, definitely. Same thing with like structural steel ironwork and fabrication in the shop and everything. Obviously tape measures, squares, anything you can measure straight edges or angles with, you can't go wrong with getting that. So speed squares, carpenter squares, framing squares, getting those levels, awesome. Everything we do has got to be plumb or it's got to be level, one of the two,
Right.
So making sure you have the tools in there to do that.
And that's half the battle, is getting the right tool for the job, right? Any hand is not as good as the tools that they're using. Now you can say you can give a welder just a plain Jane TIG torch. I'm sure he can get that job done, but put the right tool in his hand and he can really get it done. So same thing with what you're working with. If you're trying to find a circle on a piece of plate or a piece of pipe, if you have a radius finder, that makes it really easy, right? You just need a $20 radius finder and you can put in the hole and now you can have a perfect circle instead of sitting there trying to lay it out, connect the lines and things like that.
So centering heads are great to have, compasses, all that stuff, anything making bigger circles. Even having a set for trammels. So I got a set in my gang box, a set of trammels where I can do like big circles. I can do everything down from probably 2 inch and then I just swap out the rod in the middle. It's like a 1 inch flat bar, 1/4 inch thick, and as long as that rod is, I can spin a big enough circle.
You can make your own too. Like you can custom make your own radius finders, your own circle cut torch head, whatever it may be. A good fabricator has a mind that way, and they could jig something up real quick. You know as well as I do that welding is only just about a quarter of the work, right?
Yeah, it's 20%. I've always equated to about 20%. The welding's gonna be the most technical part. It only makes 20% of what you're doing. Everything else, right. Cut and fit and fab and be able to read the blueprints. Have a good calculator.
You gotta have a good, construction
calculator. Construction master calculator.
Holy crap, if you guys are terrible at doing your fractions, who isn't, right? It's third grade math, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know it.
I don't trust myself well enough with my math skills to not use my calculator.
I'm gonna mess up whatever I'm working on, but if I got my calculator, then it's gonna end up, working out.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, because a lot of people can't add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions anyhow.
I can't do it quick, and I'm still gonna end up second guessing myself.
One thing I recommend is if you have, whether you got Android, iPhone, whatever cell phone carrier you have, you can actually download the full Construction Master calculator on your phone.
I think it's like $25.
It's like $25 or $30. After probably my fourth or fifth $16 calculator, I went ahead and just downloaded the app. Now every time I change my phone, I have the app with me. But I know on some sites you can't have any cell phones whatsoever.
Right.
So you might want to, go
and you're not worried about dropping your $16 calculator, whereas your $1,000 phone may be different.
Yeah, that could be a different story.
But if you guys don't know a contractor's calculator, you can literally type in on the calculator 14 feet 7 3/8 inch plus whatever other fraction or length you're trying to find, and it adds it right there. And you don't have to do nothing.
So if you're pulling chain dimensioning on a set of prints and everything, and you're stuck over here doing your math, you can carry all that stuff with the calculator. So I'd say That's an invaluable tool right there, is having a
No doubt.
calculator and something decent to write with and write on.
Pipe Fitter's Blue Book.
Yeah.
You gotta have a Blue Book. Right now there is a bunch of tips and tricks as far as doing layout on any type of pipe structure. You'll find that from the old school guys. They'll teach you those things typically. Instead of trying to find eighths on a pipe, you can take a piece of receipt paper or some sort of stencil and break it into eighths, fold it 8 times, and now you have eighths. But the Blue Book also has all that information in there for you. Someone or all the engineers have done every pipe fitting scenario that's out there, and it's in that book.
Yeah.
Right. So that's also a crucial tool to have as far as having those measurements.
I've done that with a roll of gasket makers. So I've still got a little bit left of it. The thing was probably 30, 40 feet long when I got it.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to a pipe wrap. It just doesn't have the numbers and stuff on there. So I've been able to make custom center finders on that for specific diameters of pipe and figuring out, 90 degrees, 180 degrees,
And that Blue Book has that has a plan to building flanges and everything and cutting gaskets like that.
Yeah.
So again, that's an invaluable tool to have. One other thing is a good hammer, a good manipulator, we'll call it, right?
Oh yeah.
You need that little tap
the
sometimes.
convincer.
And what always irked me off is some fitters, they were using their squares to square something. It needs to be just a little more, and they take that square and tap it. I'm like, that's not what your square is for, man. And then also you got your faces of your flange, your gold, right? You do not want to touch a face of a flange with a hammer or arc strike or grinder, whatever, you might get fired. If you don't know the faces of a flange, it holds all the seal and it ruins it.
Once you deform that, you're not going to get a good
So a good
seal.
dead blow, one that's weighted rubber with sand, invaluable tool to just be confident that you're not messing anything up, but you can give it a good whack without hurting something. And then a good hammer in itself is also invaluable, right? Got to have a hammer.
I think one of the tools that everybody should have that's often overlooked is PPE. Now, obviously, the contractor is going to, they're responsible at the end of the day for providing that. But I've worked for some companies that they either didn't know it was their responsibility or they didn't care.
That you could grind naked,
yeah.
And they
did not care.
Nonetheless, as long as you got it done.
I always had, a specific set of PPE in my gang box: face shield, respirator, earplugs. Obviously, not a respirator now, but hearing protection. You want to protect all that stuff. A decent set of gloves.
Man, hearing protection is a big thing. Those little earplugs, man. You put them in at the beginning of your work shift, and they start opening up. You're like, oh, peace, because all day that's all you're gonna hear is heating and beating and welding and grinding. And it's at the end of the day, when it's repetition day to day, that's something that you definitely want.
Yeah.
And it's something I look forward to, is putting those earplugs in my ears.
I think when you initially start off, obviously you're not gonna have deep pockets. One thing I would recommend is buying the most affordable
Harbor Freight, man,
equipment that you
lifetime
can.
warranty.
And there's obviously there's certain things you want to spend the extra money on, but there's certain things you can get away with. You can get a dead blow hammer over at Harbor Freight. It's going to do exactly what it says. It's just a rubber mallet filled with sand.
Right.
Certain things you kind of skimp out on until you get that big check coming in, and then you can start filling up your gang box with all the top of the line. Curve mark type tools and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff you can kind of make some of your own hand tools. I worked with several guys that they've got all this homemade stuff. People just, you can't find it on the shelves.
Right. And
so
sometimes they're ingenious.
Yeah.
They're like, what did you make there? What's that for? And then they explain it and you're like, that's,
oh damn, never thought of that. Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, and it depends on the I guess the contractor you're working for. A lot of jobs that I did, they had to provide everything.
Right.
The only thing we were allowed to bring was like our hood, maybe a stinger, rod pouch, just very basic stuff. I mean, we had a 5-gallon bucket of tools. We spud wrenches and sleever bars and hammers and our tool belt, but everything else had to be provided by the contractor. We couldn't even wear our own harnesses because they had to be tagged off and everything. So it really depends on who you're working for too and what their
Grinders
responsibility is. We couldn't have power tools
in the plants and stuff. All the hand tools and a lot of the hand tools. And most of the power tools, almost every power tool was issued out every morning and you had to give it back. Now I've worked at places where they actually would loan you the tools for I worked in a shop that basically gave you thousands of dollars worth of equipment to work there. And when you left, you had to give it back, right? But that was your tools for you to keep up with. And if you lost them or ran off with them, you had to pay for it. But that was nice. And then again, some places they didn't have much at all. They had the bare minimum as far as they gave you everything you needed as far as filler metals and some consumables, but your PPE it was scarce, because they just weren't as concerned about it.
Yeah, and a lot of it, like I said, it depends on the contractor you're going to work for. Some of them, they'll tool you up big time because they got the money in the budget and they got a little money for extra couple pieces of what they call lunchbox items, or my buddy Brian Legalio calls them safety awards. They got enough for you to take home. Don't do that. Don't steal.
You see guys walking out of the plant in their blunt boxes like this. They're walking
mini
out.
chain falls and stuff in the lunchbox. Yeah.
Like, dang, your leftover box is really heavy there, man. It's funny.
But yeah, a lot of employers, I mean, they'll tool you up big time, and then some of them, they skimp, man. They'll spend a dime to save a nickel.
Oh yeah.
So it all depends on who you're going to work for, the line of work that you're getting into. Ask some of the people when you get into the shop. One of the things I always live off of is if I had to borrow it 3 times, I need to buy my own. So once you get out there,
you can't rely on anyone else. At the end of the day, you need what you need to get the job done. And 9 times out of 10, I don't even want to ask Buddy to use it because I need it all day, and I know he needs it all day. So then, just you're gonna end up needing to have your own stuff. And once you have it, you have it. Take good care of your tools. Make sure they're all organized and not just tossing it.
Write your name on your tools.
Write your freaking name on it.
Because my hammer looks just like your hammer.
Man,
at the end of
paint
the
that
day,
sucker pink.
It's gonna end up in your gang box.
If you really don't care, man, paint them. Get them all, make them look thrashed, or even if they aren't messed up, put your mark on them, because man, stuff walks off. Yeah. Especially on big job sites, and like they say, you'll have that on the big jobs, right? So, mark it, put your name on it, key it into the side of it, whatever you got to do.
I think one of the things is, a lot of people often overlook. You mentioned the Blue Book,
right?
But there's actually a lot of technical manuals for welding that you can get free right there online.
Yeah,
you can build yourself a little binder. So if you're working on different materials and thicknesses and different electrode compositions and stuff like that all the time, a lot of that information is free via PDF. Type in the name of the electrode or the rod you're going to be using, .pdf after that, and hit the search button, and the companies will give you their parameters. This is the recommended
they
settings.
want you to use it, right?
Put that in a little 3-ring binder and toss in the box. That's one thing I do for my students all the time.
That fellow on Instagram, the Crap Out Welds fella, he has his weld Bible, and it's all blank. It's just a notebook, right? But he writes on, when he lays the slickest bead that he can do, he jots down those parameters, remembers exactly what metal it is, what thickness he was welding on, if it was dissimilar thickness, and then the voltage and the amperage and whatever wire feed speed that he is using, and then keeps it. And that was what I would try to bring to my students. Same thing with all the fitting tools. Like, have that, just a notebook that you can jot things down, the measurements that you don't have to sit there and try to remember and then forget and then go measure again. So yeah, notebook is going to be one of those.
Do the same thing we did. We used to bend in a lot of different pipe and tube and stuff.
Right.
And we would get, it was a lot of it was sort of architectural, ornamental stuff, and just trying to figure out the tangents and the radius of, this 2-inch diameter, how far do I have to bend it to get it to a true 90, and what side of the pipe am I going to roll it on to where I can prevent the crease in there, and just simple stuff. I mean, taking notes you're going to learn it on this job, but it's going to save you a bunch of time on the next job.
You do it once, you have it written down, you know the steps, you've got even the measurements there. So, I mean, once you do it once again, you don't have to do it again. Yeah. So that's what's beautiful about that. Just having a simple notebook, and even wraparounds have a lot of the information on laying out pipe written on them. What the circumference of a 4-inch pipe, and its actual OD is 4.5, and the circumference is this.
One thing often overlooked is, it sounds pretty simple. For like $5, you can get a good chalk box. I bought a couple different chalk boxes, depending on the level that I'm working on. Like, if I needed permanent, because I was doing layout for the, for column lines and stuff like that.
You're talking about a chalk line.
Yeah.
I got pop the chalk line.
Pop the chalk line.
That's
I mean, something very simple.
My layout and fab class for school.
Exactly.
To get from one zero of the pipe to the other zero of the pipe, you just hold that line there and just crystal clear. Maybe blow a little of the dust away, but you got a true straight line right across.
We used to do it for big structural components and stuff like that. I just draw a life size. If we had a bunch to build, I'd draw a life size template right there on the shop floor, with a chalk box.
Right. And
just pop all my lines and everything, mark all my angles, and make sure everything, cut it, set it in, make sure it fits, square it up, tack it in, boom, off to the next one. So it's almost like a life size template for what you're working on. So you keep everything nice and consistent. Yeah. And they're like $5.
Yeah,
they're not expensive at all.
It's not at all, but it's one of those things that you don't think about, but it makes the job so much easier.
Yeah, but I'd say definitely. I mean, like, if you're just starting out, get into it. I think my first toolbox was one of them little 2-foot by 3-foot rigids they sell at Home Depot for like $180.
Right, that's exactly.
And start off with that. You don't need to go get you a big knack box and everything. You got more space than you know what to do with. Right. And you just start filling it full of junk. Find out exactly what you need when you outgrow that box.
Keep it organized.
Get you a bigger one. Organization is key.
I don't know about other people. I know everyone's different, right? But I started off unorganized, just tossing stuff in, and things get broke. Put the weld
in there before the chain falls.
Yeah, things get broke, things get lost, man, and then you don't know if you just have it all laid out where it's supposed to be, your day goes better.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're going to look for a tool and you know exactly where it is. Some people call it organized chaos, whatever you want, but man, if you know you got it laid out right, man, it's a lot better. Stay organized.
Especially if you got somebody working with you. You can be like, second shelf, right hand side.
Oh man,
it's in a little blue box. You know exactly where it's at when they're working with you, and it makes the day go by a lot faster. You spend a lot of less time searching for the tool. You know it's in there, you just don't know where it's at. You know, You're like a kid with a toy box. You got to yank everything out to get to that one.
And then
tool.
you got to put it all back.
Then you got to cram it all back in.
Yeah.
You just fight it all day.
Well, yeah, that's about as much as I can think of. With some just little tools that you may need here and there, but again, you need a bunch of different things. But you'll learn as you go. Different jobs that you encounter, you eventually accumulate more tools. And
you get specialty tools for different types of jobs.
Right.
You may only ever use it once, but when you buy it,
oh man, when you need it, you need it. When you need it,
it's nice to have.
Right. Well, it's been good talking to you, Jason.
Great talking to you, man.